East
I was not.
fall.
I was doing Westwood Radio.
Well, can I break the news to you then? Baylor just lost to North Carolina. So
Really?
we will lead with that, I think. Olivia Ray here with Wish TV to talk about, I think, the East right now and how it's played out. I know that you are focused on the game ahead of you, but it's hard not to understand that Kentucky and Baylor have now gone down.
Yeah, our focus is on Texas. We know how hard this game is going to be. I think they're a great defensive team. They have great experience at the guards. They've taken. I think when you take a lot of transfers, it takes a little bit of time. But by the end of the year, you're a great team, and they're a great team. And I think that's where our focus is trying to handle their defensive pressure, trying to handle them on the other end and a lot of their ISOs and the way they break you down and really put you in a bind because they have great guards that can dribble, pass, and shoot. They have a matchup nightmare in Allen at the 4. They have good bigs that do a good job at defending at the rim and defending out. So it's going to be, and they have depth. They have 9 guys that they can go to and really cause you problems. So that's where our focus, is. I really wasn't watching that game. Even though they told me what the score was, I wasn't watching it.
Well, there are 20 seconds left, so.
That's good.
Down by 6 right now. Next question then, a lot of what you just mentioned all falls back on Chris Beard, who you know well, Purdue knows well in the tournament and has come out on the wrong end of a lot of his coaching. So what that says about him and I guess what you can draw from those past experiences heading into tomorrow.
Well, he's a fabulous coach. He's done a great job at all of his stops, and obviously we've gotten beat by them when he was at Arkansas Little Rock and when he was at Texas Tech. So, he's just done a great job of preparing his team, playing hard, playing defense, sharing the basketball. Obviously, he's had good pieces at all of his stops because that's the key. It's a player's game. But no, I can't say enough good things about him. And obviously, you learn from your losses. And that's what you want to do, even though both the teams that we had were a little different. There are some still similar players there, but none of the players on this team were on either one of those teams. But obviously, from a coaching standpoint, you learn from it. You want your teams to be as tough as their teams. You want your teams to be able to compete like that. And that's why he keeps getting really good jobs, and that's why they keep advancing in the tournament.
Hey, Matt. Brian Davis, Austin American-Statesman. I just want to hear the story about you convincing him to go to the ABA.
I didn't convince him to go to the ABA. He wanted, obviously he had some other options that he was trying to get, but he didn't want a gap in his resume. And so I knew one of the guys that was running the team, and so he reached out to me and about going to the ABA or whatever. And so I didn't know if that was the best thing to do, but he wanted to stay in coaching. He didn't want to have that gap, on his resume. So I just didn't think from all the experiences he'd already had if that was the best thing. So I wasn't trying to convince him of that, but he obviously, anytime you got a chance to coach, whether it's minor leagues, kind of semi-pro like basketball, man, your love for coaching. A lot of the guys, George Karl and Phil Jackson, who coached in the CBA and, did summer stuff overseas and different experiences, I think it can really grow you as a coach. And obviously, he's a fabulous coach and had some bad breaks there. And then obviously since then, he's made some really good breaks for himself.
Brian Newbert, goldenbuck.com. Matt, kind of a two-part deal here. Can you just break down what makes Texas's defense really good in terms of what they try to take away and how they do it? And then also, how much can Eric's experience on Marcus Carr help you from a defensive perspective?
Well, I think first of all, just their pressure on the basketball. They have big physical guards with a lot of experience. They've been in a lot of big-time games, and their ability to not have to help all the time. When they do have to help, they're great at it. They really do a great job of swarming the basketball, but they're not in help constantly. I think when you're constantly in help as a team, you're going to get in trouble with good offensive teams. They do a good job of just guarding the basketball and making it really difficult. Then they have those interchangeable pieces, kind of at the 3, 4, 5 spots that are very long and athletic. that really disrupt what you want to do. In terms of Marcus Carr, obviously, with him playing at Minnesota, we know how dangerous he is. He's a very good guard. He's gotten the best of us a couple times, and we have a lot of respect for him. And Eric's guarding him, and some of our other guys have guarded him too. And I think they would say the same thing. You just have to work hard. Anytime you face great players, you have to work hard and make them earn it. And he's one of those guys that can make difficult shots and difficult plays, especially, in crunch time.
Hey, Matt, Cedric Golden, Austin American Statesman. In our generation, we grew up with guys dumping the ball in to Patrick Ewing, Ralph Sampson.
Right.
Well, those were the glory days, before we got old. You've always had 7-footers on your team, and how good a job has your team done in getting the ball to Zach? And also, what's your philosophy on 7-footers? Because you always seem to have a couple
Right.
hanging around.
Well, first of all, we work really hard to try to get them in position to be effective. And it's more of a ball screen motion kind of landscape in our game, and rightfully so, because the ball screen's very difficult, to defend. And the low post game, especially professionally, is not as much. And I think analytics has had something to do with that also. But as long as the bonus is at 7 in the college game and then it stays put, and if you can get guys that can shoot 65, 70%, and they can get the ball from 5 to 8 feet, it just makes sense. But you have to get the right guys. So I'll talk sometimes in clinics, and I'll say, hey, this is really effective, but Caleb Swanigan is the guy we're throwing it to, or A.J. Hammonds is the guy we're throwing it to, or Isaac Haas. Our players are quality players. We just put a lot of emphasis on it, and then as it's went along, we've just kind of naturally, from Carl Landry to Juwan Johnson to all the guys that we've had, we can talk about 7 to 8 different guys in the past 15 years, and they look at it and they know, like, hey, like, we're going to get the ball if we go here. Sometimes those big guys that go other places, they can get the ball, but they got to get it off the glass. They got to run on the break. They got to dive to get it, which there's nothing wrong with any of those things because they're all great. But will they really get it and be a focal point of their offense? I think that's the question for size when they get recruited. We show them through numbers now. I think that's the piece. Before, everybody gets on the phone and says, oh, we run, or we're a fast break team, and there was no numbers to be seen. Now you can show them numbers. Okay, here's our offensive efficiency. Here's how much we get the ball inside. And then the flip of it, like with guards, like we've had some really good guards through the years, Eachwan Moore, Carson Edwards, Jaden Ivey, just to name a few. And so, like, we've just tried to get skill with that size, and then if you can have a dynamic player with them, and then you have a really good low post player, a dynamic player, and then a lot of skill, a lot of heady players, and that kind of completes for a good team. So that's our recipe that we try to get to. We don't draft, so we recruit. So, like, we always know who we want, but sometimes we can't get them. And so that's the difficult part. But that's part of it. We all know who we can date. You got to figure out, even though we like to lie to ourselves, you got to figure out, like, hey, I can stay in this race and get 2nd or 3rd place, and that doesn't help you. 2nd or 3rd place in recruiting gets you fired. You got to figure out who you can get, and if you can't get somebody, you got to move to the next guy pretty quickly so you're not stuck waiting on that guy and end up with nobody. Oh, you're a lifesaver.
Matt, Bob Kravitz with The Athletic. How have you seen Trevion's passing develop? Did he come to school with a gift?
Yes.
And has he just developed it, and how has he done so?
Yeah. He naturally can see things, and he's got a really good feel and a really good instinct. At times, it's that blessing that he has, and then when he tries to overdo it a little bit, that's when he gets into trouble. But anybody that can see the floor like that and pass, you have some of those moments where you thread the needle a little bit too much, or you try to find somebody who's not quite there. You're kind of envisioning something that could kind of matriculate into a play or could not. I call them maybe passes. He has some of those maybe passes, but it's a great weapon because if he can get the ball close to the rim, he can score it, and now they got to make a decision. Do they double or don't they double? And then he's such a good offensive rebounder, and so any of those kind of opportunities that get there, he's really a dual threat type guy with his ability to score and pass.
Matt, Jim Polzane from the Wisconsin State Journal. This question isn't specifically about you. I just kind of speaking in general and want your opinion. How much should a coach be measured by results this time of year, do you think?
How much should he be measured, or how much is he kind of measured? I mean, it's what you're measured on. You're measured on the success that you have in winning championships or competing for championships. I thought this year we put ourselves in a position to win a championship. We didn't. It's a fine line. We put ourselves in a position to win a tournament championship. We didn't, but we still put ourselves in position for both. And now here we are in position again. But there's another team out there. Like when you guys ask questions, a lot of times that doesn't get brought up, that, you know, the team that you're getting ready to play and you lose those games. Like that team's a really good team. Like they didn't slip on a banana peel and get into the second round. They earned their way too. And so like when you get on a neutral court, you know, everything kind of, you're not on the road, you're not at home, it's the end of the year, everybody kind of knows what you're doing. Even though in the tournament you're not as familiar, especially in that second game. But yeah, that's just the way it is, you know? That's how you get gauged, and if that bothers you, that this is probably not your profession. You know, you got to be able to, I try to be process-based. You know, you lose a game in the NCAA tournament, learn from it. Try to be better so you can win the next one. You know it's going to be difficult because you got to get yourself back there again and regroup and everything, but that's part of dusting off and getting off the canvas and going to fight again, and that's what we try to do. Obviously, you want to keep rolling and win games, but, you know, it's part of competition.
Coach Painter, Rocket Haverland, the Purdue exponent. Texas is known for their no-middle, very physical defense. Is that going to change the way you utilize Ivy, a player known for driving to the basket? Is that something you're going to focus on or have noticed in the film?
No, we'll go to our, you know, guys that we go to, whether that's Trevion Williams or Ross-Ade or running plays for Sasha Stefanovic to shoot, or trying to get Jaden Ivey in the open court and out in space as much as possible. I think what it lends to, and this is from Bob's question also, is now what are they going to do? And then you got to make a good decision. You know, everyone's going to try to get their best players as many cracks at it as possible. It doesn't mean they get to shoot more, though. Doesn't mean they get to pass more. Like whatever organically happens, just take what the defense gives you and play from there. Sometimes those predetermined thoughts get you in trouble. Well, I'm going to go out and do exactly what I did against Yale. Well, they're going to defend some things differently than Yale. You know, we're going to do some things differently than Virginia Tech. So when you get to that, you know, you got to have a mature pulse about you. And if they want to overdo some things, get the ball out of your hands. You know, if they don't, they want to keep you one-on-one, then be aggressive. But whether it's Texas or Purdue, you know, we're going to try to get our best players in as many actions as possible and be aggressive. But, you know, just, you know, make good decisions and make good reads.
Matt, it seemed like Ethan Morton did a pretty good job on Keegan Murray in the Big Ten tournament defensively. It seemed like he did a pretty good job yesterday on Swain. How much can that kind of defensive versatility off the bench kind of help you this time of year?
Well, I think can really help us. You know, I think Ethan's done a really good job for us. He's gotten to some tough grinds there when we got certain matchups, and I go with other guys, and he kept a positive attitude, and he's ready to play when his number's called. Yeah, but anytime you can have guys that are versatile, that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and defend, you know, that really helps us.
Steve McGargy, Associated Press. I was just wondering what your recollections, what sticks out in your memory from that Little Rock game, and also I didn't know if your relationship with Chris, if it preceded that, or how familiar you were with him leading up to that particular game.
I was obviously familiar with him. I've known him through Pat Knight, who they were together with, at Texas Tech, and obviously he was a junior college coach before that. But what sticks out to me was just how hard they played. They did a great job of shot faking and using their dribble. With that group that he had at Little Rock, he had a quick turnaround there. Like he really came in there and established a great culture and played. You know, we're up 3 with 18 seconds, and we don't foul, and that's a lot of time, right? But they don't take their shot until 5 seconds to go. It really taught me a lesson in terms of most people at that time are going to go be aggressive right away because they're up against time. They'll even go get a quick 2 at that time. And so that was something that really jarred me. I thought we should have fouled there, and I made the mistake of not fouling after it got under 10 seconds, even though at 8-9 seconds is still a lot of time in that scenario, but you still don't like to see that 3 beat you at that time. And I've not went to the Final Four over a pretty similar scenario, so, and we did foul. So for you guys out there saying that you should foul, or not foul. I've proven that we can lose either way. And so that's what sticks out. Like, I don't think I made a mistake in the Virginia. I didn't make a mistake in the Virginia game. I made a mistake in the Arkansas Little Rock game. And those stick with you more than the other. The losses stick with you, and that's what the question earlier, that's what stinks about our business. People have no idea how that churns with you, 5, 10 years later. It just, those moments just are tough. But you try to learn from it and be better and keep rolling. But no, he's a really good coach. Obviously, he doesn't advance and do the things that he's done at all those different stops without being a great coach.
Isaac Trotter, 24/7 Sports. Matt, it's easy for us to look and say, Zach Edey's 9 inches taller than Christian Bishop. He's going to be fine. Like, what stands out, though, about how Bishop defends, posts up, and how do you have to attack him?
Yeah, I think, Zach kind of nailed it when he talked the other day before our Yale game. Sometimes those guys are the hardest guys because they're athletic and they're quicker and they can beat you to a spot and they can get under you a little bit, and so it's more team defense than anything. Those guys can do that, but if they don't have somebody on that backside or that low man helping right there as they beat you to a spot and we can just throw over the top, then you're stuck. So it takes pressure on the basketball. It takes a good post defender. Then it takes some weak side help. And that's why the combination of skill and size and a dynamic guy like Jaden has really helped us. And that's the reason I really emphasize so much our decision making. As we just make good decisions and we can handle pressure, things have really worked for us this year. When we haven't, we've struggled.
Hey, Matt, Adam Rittenberg with ESPN. I know you've had a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament, but as you look at this one, what stands out most from a positive standpoint, and then what's been the biggest challenge with this team, despite its talent?
I think what stands out from a positive is our ability to shoot a good field goal percentage and be a good offensive rebound team. And to go into that also is the turnovers. When we do not, our total number of turnovers isn't that bad. It just seems like it's extreme when we lose. And sometimes it's not the total, it's like a total and a half. And then that one half, we never get over that hurdle. So I would say those things jump out more than anything. Because when we turn it over or we take tough shots, that really affects our transition defense like it affects everybody's. So they really go hand in hand right there. So as long as we get quality shots and take care of the basketball, we really help our transition defense. We get our defense set, and then that helps us. And we've had a lot of success there. But I would say those are the main strengths and weaknesses for our group.
Bob Kravitz with The Athletic. Getting back to Trevion, he could start anywhere, obviously. He could get 25 to 30 minutes. Was it difficult to get him to sublimate his ego and accept his role, or did he come by it naturally?
Yeah. No, he was fine, and it wasn't something that we really met on and really discussed. I talk about things before, and, I'm always going to make decisions on what I think is best for our team. If I made decisions that were best on each individual, it would be different. This is just a different thing because he's first team All-League the year before. And so a lot of people have tried to discuss about playing together, and that's what we, I even talked about that. We did a little bit of it in the summer, but, we've struggled some here in the past month. We've been better defensively, but from a ball screen defense, transition defense, actual defensive standpoint, that really puts a burden on our team, when we're that way. Now, when he's in there by himself, he's got a lot of space with the skill that we put on the floor, and so does Zach, obviously. But no, he's been great. He's kept a good attitude. He's had it's been frustrating at times, and so and you understand that. You want to do well, you want to help your team, and then you don't get to play quite as much. But if you look how efficient those guys have been, they've both done a really good job for us.
Two more. Billy Witz with the New York Times. Matt, yesterday, it was really apparent watching Texas play just how they kind of, their physical nature sort of took a really good offensive team out of a lot of what they were trying to do. I don't know, you play in a pretty physical conference.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can draw on? Was there a team that maybe, and I don't know if it was Villanova or teams in the conference that you would maybe at least allow guys to think, okay, this is going to be similar to that?
Right. Well, you went from Ohio State to Michigan State to Rutgers to Indiana. Those teams are, pretty good defensively, and they're pretty physical, especially their guards. They really get into you. And, Villanova's obviously, a great team, and, we played them earlier in the year, and they have, like, super guards and physical guards, and they really stretch you out. So I would think the combination of those 5 teams, in terms of Texas is their experience in all 3 guys. They're all big physical guards that cause issues for you. But, just the freedom of movement, and dribbling the basketball, especially with a guy like Jaden Ivey, like that's been the big emphasis, this year. And I think you saw that yesterday, with him driving and getting, I think, 7 fouls drawn. And so, like, that's the emphasis that they've made and they've really talked about from a refereeing standpoint. So we'll see. We'll see if they allow 2 hands or they allow that, or they're going to actually call it the way they say they're going to call it.
Last one.
Painter, North Carolina has officially won. I know you don't really care about that. Just a quick question. Do you know where your relationship with Chris Beard started, where you first saw him, and where that kind of founded?
Yeah. Well, he was a junior college coach when I first saw him. When I first met him when he was an assistant at Texas Tech. Obviously met him through Pat Knight was there. So I played AAU basketball in Bloomington, and I stayed at Nancy Knight's house, Pat's mom's house. And then Pat's brother coached our team, Tim Knight. So I've known their family for a long time. But that's how I got connected, with Chris through Pat when they're on staff together at Texas Tech.
Coach, thank you. Good luck tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you.